Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmad Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmad Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. I offer my respects to my gurus. I offer my respects to all my gurus, all their gurus, and all gurus, all teachers. I am your coordinator, Keshava Das, in Hawaii, and on behalf of Vaisnava Dharma International, I have decided to try to coordinate satsangs amongst Vaishnavas in this time of social disharmony. So today, I would like to first of all explain the manifesto of Vaishnava Dharma International. Vaishnavism is a universal religion based on the Vedanta school of Indian philosophy. Vaishnavism consists of many significantly or slightly different sub-schools, all of whom exalt the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, variously known as Sriman Narayana, Vasudeva, and Vishnu, etc. The essential or Vyapaka names of God, the three most important names of God, expressing his exclusive, all-pervasive or Vyapaka nature, are Narayana, Vasudeva, and Vishnu. Vishnu is he who pervades everything from inside. Vasudeva means he who pervades from outside. And Narayana means he who pervades everything both from inside and outside. Thus, the name Narayana best describes the original, omnipotent, and omnipresent reality in full. Shriman indicates that Lord Narayana is always present with all his various energies, Shaktis, headed by his divine consort Sri Devi, otherwise known as Goddess Mahalakshmi. Thus, the fullest denotation of the Supreme Reality in association with his unlimited energies is named Sriman Narayana. Sriman Narayana has both personal and impersonal aspects. These aspects have different names according to which of their divine attributes are exhibited more prominently. Dharma has many shades of meaning. Vaishnava Dharma means the essence of Vaishnavism. Therefore, Vaishnava Dharma International indicates the universal essence of Vaishnavism, or essential universal philosophy. The epistemological system of Vaishnava Dharma International is based on three means, or pramanas, three means of acquiring valid cognition or knowledge. Prama, sense perception, pratyaksha, inference, anumana, and testimony, sabda. Testimony leading to valid cognition can be from different sources. Vaishnavas accept the best sources are the authorless Veda or Shruti, literally that which is heard, which are free from inherent textual defects. The Veda or Shruti are the most ancient scriptural texts consisting of four divisions: Samhitas, hymns; Brahmanas, priestly manuals; Aranyakas, forest dweller texts; and Upanishads, esoteric teachings. Since the last section deals with philosophical issues, it is called Vedanta. Literally, Veda equals knowledge and Anta equals end, or the ultimate knowledge. Vaishnava Dharma International accepts the inherent rights of all sentient beings to inquire about the nature of absolute truth and to seek the goals of life, purusharthas. Vaishnava Dharma International does not restrict the study of any Vedic, Shruti, or other texts based on any material designation. There are also four divisions of these four types of Shruti: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvana Veda. The next highest level of scriptural texts are called Shmritis, literally remembered texts, which were authored to help explain the authorless Veda or Shruti. There are many Shmritis like traditional texts, like the two itihasas or traditional accounts, Ramayana and Mahabharata. The Ramayana, the story of Lord Rama, and the Mahabharata, the story of Greater India, which includes the Bhagavad Gita, the song of Lord Krishna, and the Vishnu Sahasranama, 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. Vedanta philosophy is based on a system called Prasthana Trayi, method of three main scriptures. The three scriptures are the Shruti Prasthana, or the Upanishads, which are 108 primary texts, the Nyaya Prasthana, or Brahma Sutras, aphorisms on spirit, the Smriti Prasthana, Bhagavad Gita, and Vishnu Sahasranam. Every sect of Vaishnavas has their own commentaries and interpretations by their acharyas or teachers on the texts of the Prasthana Trayi. Other Shritis are the 18 Puranas, or ancient tales. There are also many other texts, variously named as Samhitas, Agamas, and Tantras, which deal with different subjects. Their contents are considered valid as long as they do not contradict the knowledge gained from the Veda, Vedanta, and Prasthana Trayi. Vaishnava Dharma International does not oppose any of the doctrines or practices of the various Vaishnava schools whose acharyas have commented on the Prasthana Trayi. Neither is it opposed to any theistic or philosophical system throughout the world which basically agrees with the essence of the Prasthana Trayi. Vaishnava Dharma International accepts that different details of some doctrines and practices are based on the particular faith of certain individuals and groups. Vaishnava Dharma International proposes to teach the basic essential doctrines and practices outlined in the Prasthana Trayi. The Prasthana Trayi teaches that spiritual knowledge and perfection can be attained by 32 vidyas, or systems of attaining the Supreme, as taught in the Upanishads. These vidyas can be further divided into 5 yogas, methods or means of connecting with the Supreme, or upayas, literally means, to achieve the upaya or goal, that is God, taught in the Bhagavad Gita. The 5 upayas taught are Karma Yoga, works, Jnana Yoga, knowledge, Bhakti Yoga, devotion, Acharya Abhimana, trust in the mediator, and Prapati, refuge. The first 3 upayas require sadhana, self-efforts, for which the shishya or aspirant and the guru preceptor have to be qualified. The 4th upaya also requires a qualified guru and requires the shishya to trust him implicitly. The last upaya is the easiest because neither does it require a qualified guru nor a qualified shishya. It relies on the qualification of the Supreme only. God is not only the upaya, goal, but the only upaya, means of attainment as well. There are many examples of sentient beings that attained perfection by the process of prapati or refuge. Not only human beings, but even animals have attained perfection through this process. Vaishnava Dharma International teaches the process of prapati based on the examples of prapanas, refugees like Vibhishana, Draupadi, and Gajendra. So now that I've explained the manifesto of Vaishnava Dharma International and explained that I am the coordinator, I want to bring together different Vaishnavas of any tradition or even other religionists in order to present knowledge from different traditions, valid knowledge, so that people can learn that valid knowledge, and also to provide a satsanga, or an eternal association, where people can get together and they can discuss those principles. So from time to time, I'm going to be setting up these Zoom conferences and dealing with different subject matters. And I'm also going to be inviting other persons to participate in this and to explain different aspects of Vaishnava Dharma. each lesson or each satsanga, each that we take up with will probably be about 30 to 40 minutes. And the participants can ask questions, they can post things, we can share literature and files through this system. And so anybody who is viewing this video, they can also send questions to be answered, to be discussed, or comments to keshavachari@gmail.com, KESHAVACHARI@gmail.com. And we'll try to answer those and discuss those. With the time that I have left, I'd like to start explaining a little bit more about Vaishnava culture, Vaishnava Dharma. So I'd like to read from the introduction to Vaishnavism by S.M.S. Chari. And then perhaps there was a question, somebody asked a question about the different aspects of teachings of Sripad Ramanujacharya, who lived over 1,000 years ago, and we might be able to discuss that. If anyone has any questions as we go along, you can just chime in, or you can send emails. Religion and philosophy have been an indispensable part of Indian culture from the remote past. The Rig Veda, which is the oldest religious literature of the world, together with the principal Upanishads, contain profound philosophical as well as religious thoughts, which have provided the foundation for the later development of philosophical and religious systems of India. Though philosophy and religion in India are not totally separated from each other, they have grown together as complementary to each other. The major philosophical schools which have accepted the authority of the Vedas are the Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, and Vedanta, which is also called Uttara Mimamsa, categorized as the Sad-darshanas, or 6 systems of Indian philosophy. Buddhism and Jainism, which are also part of Indian philosophy, fall outside this group as they do not acknowledge the authority of the Vedas. The Vedanta system comprises several schools which have arisen as a result of the different interpretations offered by exponents of the Upanishadic texts, the Vedanta Sutra, and the Bhagavad Gita, which I explained was the Prasthana Trayi, which are the triple foundation of Vedanta. The principal ones among them are the Advaita understanding, or non-dual understanding, monistic understanding of Shankara or Shankaracharya, the Vishishta Advaita, or modified non-dualism of Ramanuja, or holistic non-dualism of Ramanuja, and the Dvaita or dualism of Madhva. There are also several religious cults of ancient origin. The sects which are referred to in the latter religious literature are Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Shaktism, Saurya, Vinayaka, and Skanda. Of these, the principal ones, which are well developed with an extensive literature of their own, which have survived through the centuries, are Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and Shaktism. The 2 other major living religions, which have had their origin in India, are Jainism and Buddhism. But these 2 do not owe any allegiance to the Vedas. It is customary to call the religion of the vast majority of Indians as Hinduism, or the religion of the Hindus, as distinct from Buddhism, Jainism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the other major religions of the world. Hinduism itself does not stand for any specific creed. It includes several cults, each with a distinct character, and devoted to the exclusive worship of a specific deity as a supreme being. Though the various religious cults do have certain commonly accepted doctrines and may be regarded as a part of Hinduism in a broad sense, they're all identifiable as distinct. Each one is a well-developed religious system with a long historical background and claims millions of followers. The comprehensive and separate study of each religion, therefore, would merit a closer study. Vaishnavism, which is the main subject of this study, is one of the oldest living religions of India. It is a monotheistic system based on the theory that Vishnu is the ultimate reality, the supreme deity, Paratattva, that Sanskrit para means supreme, tattva means truth or category, and identical with Brahman of the Upanishads. It believes that the exclusive and devoted worship of Vishnu will lead to the attainment of the highest spiritual goal. It emphasizes the observance of an ethical and religious way of life for the purpose of realization of Vishnu. Vaishnavism is not a mere cult. It is essentially a philosophy of religion. It has developed distinctive theological doctrines, which are founded on sound philosophical theories enunciated in the Upanishads. There are religions which do not have a rational philosophical basis. The tribal religions, the older Pasupata sects of Shaivism, and some of the revealed theologies are of this type. On the other hand, we have metaphysical systems such as the Madhyamika school of Buddhism and the Western schools of thought, which do not include in them a theology. In other words, they deny God or a supreme being. A philosophical system, however great and acceptable it may be, would lack practical value if it cannot regulate the religious life of human beings. In the same way, a good theological system without a philosophical foundation might influence the life of an individual through a religious discipline, but may lack a sound philosophy. A sound religious system must therefore be structured on a strong philosophical foundation. Vaishnavism as a theological system preeminently fulfills this criteria. As a philosophy of religion, it attempts to fuse religion and philosophy and reconcile the claims of revelation and reason. The basis for the above claim is that Vaishnavism is an outcome of the Vedanta as enshrined in the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutras, and the Bhagavad Gita. The Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, expounded by Ramanuja, which is essentially a philosophical system, provides the philosophic foundation for it. The traditional scholars do not generally make a distinction between Vishishtadvaita philosophy and Vaishnava religion. According to them, the Vishishtadvaita darshan, or system, as it is rightly called, like the Nyaya darshan, or system of logic, is not different from the Vaishnava mata, or path, or sampradaya. Mata means path or sampradaya, as it is generally termed. Besides, in Indian philosophy and religion are not treated as different from each other as is done in the West. The two are complementary and they often overlap. Nonetheless, we have to admit a distinction between what I would prefer to call Vishishtadvaita philosophy and Vishishtadvaita philosophy and Vishishtadvaita religion. The former represents the theoretical and systematic study of the nature of reality, whereas the latter covers a practical way of life which will lead to the realization of the ultimate spiritual goal. The main theme of the Upanishadic teaching, as summed up in the three significant words, is true knowledge of Brahman, or Brahmavit, should lead to the attainment of Brahman, apnoti param. It thus emphasizes the ultimate value of philosophical pursuits as the attainment of Brahman, or the Supreme. Keeping this in mind, the sage Vyasa, author of the Vedanta Sutra, has divided his reputed treatise containing aphorisms in 4 parts or chapters. The first part primarily deals with the nature of the ultimate reality, termed as Brahman in the Upanishads. To maintain the rigor of the metaphysical character of the subject, the sutras do not identify the one ultimate reality with any of the deities accepted as God of the religion by various cults with different names. This is in the spirit of true philosophical investigation, which does not bring in theological concepts. The second part is primarily concerned with the re-establishment of the same truth, expounded in the first part, by way of refuting the theories of the rival schools of thought. The third part is focused on the sadhana, or the means of realizing the ultimate reality. The fourth part is devoted to the discussion of the spiritual goal, or the summum bonum of human life, the purushartha, meaning is the goal of human life. The two topics, sadhana, or practice, and purushartha, the goal of life, are very important because they spell out the practical value of the philosophical study. Sadhana, or discipline, involves an ethical and religious way of life leading to the achievement of the spiritual goal. This, in my opinion, is the character of a true religion. Thus, both philosophy and religion are important as they're complementary. Mere philosophy as speculative thinking and intellectual exercise is of little practical value. Mere religion based on faith in a set of beliefs and ritualistic practices will not be rational. The two should be in harmony. The religious texts use the terms jnana, knowledge, and karma, works, in a broad sense to cover theoretical knowledge gained from a study of the sacred texts and its principal application for achieving a spiritual goal. As an ancient verse states, mere jnana, or knowledge, without karma action is useless, and mere karma action devoid of jnana, or knowledge, is equally futile. Both are therefore important. Against this background, we have to understand the difference between the philosophy of Vishishtadvaita and the religion of Vishishtadvaita, which is Vaishnavism. There is a view that Vaishnavism as a religion has been developed primarily from the Vaishnava agamas, the numerous Pancharatra texts, treatises, more than the Vedanta texts. Some scholars believe that there existed in the ancient past a Bhagavata religion, or the religious practices of the Bhagavatas, who worship Bhagavan Vasudeva, and that Ramanuja imposed this religion on Vedanta philosophy to fuse the two to make it a philosophy of religion. This analysis may be true to some extent, but it does not invalidate the view that Vaishnavism is an outcome of the Vedanta philosophy. The Pancharatra agamas, on which the Bhagavata religion is founded, have their origin in the Vedas. The Agama Pramanya of Yamuna, or Yamunacharya, the commentary of Ramanuja on the relevant Vedanta sutras, referring to the Pancharatra religion, and the Pancharatra Raksha of Vedanta Deshika, have established beyond any doubt that the Pancharatra agamas are of Vedic origin. This point becomes more evident if we compare Vaishnavism and the older school of Shaivism, another important monotheistic religion. Shaivism is primarily developed on the basis of the teachings contained in the Shaiva agamas, which are as old as the Vaishnava agamas. Nevertheless, it cannot be taken as a religion developed from Vedanta because the Shaiva agamas, unlike the Vaishnava agamas, are not claimed even by ancient Shaivites as of Vedic origin. They are regarded as treatises having independent divine origin and as different from the Vedanta. This is obvious from the fact that the Advaita Vedanta of Shankara, which is the oldest amongst the living Vedanta schools and whose followers also worship Shiva, does not have any place in it for Shaivism. Presumably, some later thinkers, such as Srikanta in the 14th century and Apaya Dikshita in the 16th century, after realizing the rift between Vedanta and the religion of Shaivism, have attempted to accord a Vedantic authority to Shaivism by interpreting the Vedanta Sutra in terms of Shiva as the supreme being, in the books entitled Srikanta's Brahma Sutra Bhashya and Apaya Dikshita's Shiva Mani Dipika, a commentary on the Bhashya. These efforts, made in a later period with sectarian bias at a time when open clashes had developed between the two rival religions, are not of much relevance to establish the basic fact whether or not the particular ancient religious cult was an outcome of Vedanta. We do not face a similar problem in the case of Vishishtadvaita Vedanta and its complementary Vaisnava religion. Historically, the two have grown together as two facets of one and the same school of thought from the ancient past. We may therefore make a claim free from the dogmatic assertion that Vaishnavism is a religion which has developed out of the Vedanta and has thus a strong philosophic foundation. A few lines of explanation may be necessary to substantiate this conclusion. The main topic of Vedanta are tattva, or reality, hita, the means of realization, and purushartha, the ultimate goal. Tattva is divided into two categories: para, or what is ultimate, and apara, what is dependent on the one highest reality. The apara tattva is of two kinds: the sentient beings, or individual souls, that have consciousness, and the material entities, which are non-sentient in character. As Svetashvatara Upanishad states, tattvas are broadly classified into three kinds: bhokta, the one who experiences the universe; bhogya, the universe of experience; and preritara, or the one who controls the former two. In the language of Vedanta, the three realities are called as Brahman, the supreme being; Jivatma, the individual self; and Jagat, the material universe. In the Vishishtadvaita terminology, they are named as Ishvara, Chit, and Achit, respectively. The three constitute the Tattva-traya, or the three categories of Vedanta. All the schools of Vedanta have generally accepted the three tattvas, or categories. Differences arise whether it comes to the question of determining the relationship between the paratattva and the aparatattvas, or the supreme category, and the other two, which are dependent. The issues involved are whether all the three are absolutely real, or whether the ultimate reality alone is absolutely real, while the other two are either phenomenal in character or dependent realities. If all the three are real, the question also arises as to whether the dependent realities are organically related to the independent one, or in some other manner. They get three different answers to these basic questions, and thus we have three primary schools of Vedanta: the Advaita, or monist; the Vishishtadvaita, modified monism, holistic monism; and the Dvaita, or dualist. From an epistemological standpoint, the schools of Vedanta may be classified under three headings: Abhedavada, based on the logical concept of non-difference; Bhedavada, based on the concept of difference; and Bheda-Bhedavada, or the theory of difference with non-difference, as a compromise of the other two views. The Abhedavada can itself assume different forms. It may be taken as undifferentiated absolute oneness, tadatmya, as in the case of Advaita Vedanta. It may also be taken as non-difference, or oneness in the sense of organic unity, as advocated by the Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. It may also mean oneness in the sense of only the absolute reality is independent, swatantra, while the other two realities, which are different from each other, are absolutely dependent, paratantra, on the one independent entity, as in the case of Madhva's Dvaita Vedanta. The concept of Bheda-Bheda is also understood in different ways, giving room to other schools of Vedanta, such as those represented by Bhaskara and Yadava Prakash. This is hardly the place to go into the details of these theories, but suffice it to say that all schools of Vedanta accept the three metaphysical entities of God, the souls, and the physical universe. Regarding the second topic, that is hita, or the main issue, or means, the main issue according to the Upanishadic texts is whether jnana, or knowledge, the spiritual knowledge of Brahman, or the upasana, the meditation on Brahman, is a direct means to attain the supreme goal. The Advaita Vedanta lays emphasis on jnana, whereas Vishishtadvaita and Dvaita give greater importance to upasana, or practice, or meditation, also known as the path of devotion, bhakti yoga, aided by knowledge, jnana, and karma works. Some schools have attempted to adopt a combination of jnana, upasana, and karma, as that of Yadava and Bhaskara. Regarding the nature of the goal, purushartha, the doctrines advanced by each school vary. But what is common to all is the acceptance of the concept of cessation of bondage, leading to the realization of the supreme end. According to Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, it is the complete and comprehensive experience of Brahman by the individual soul in the transcendental realm, Vaikuntha. If we take into consideration these basic doctrines of Vedanta, we do not find that the religion of Vaishnavism is in any way different from the Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. In fact, the former has adopted all the philosophical doctrines of the latter. The distinction, however, arises with regard to the manner in which these doctrines have been further expanded and developed without breaking away from the original sources in order to meet certain theological needs. The three main topics of Vedanta, tattva, category or truth, hita, the means, and purushartha, the goal, have been expanded to make it a five-fold scheme of categories known as Artha Panchaka. Artha Panchaka. These are: 1, the nature of Brahman to be attained, prapya; 2, the nature of the individual self who aspires to realize it, prapta; the means of achieving the goal, praptyupaya; 4, the nature of the goal, phala, or the fruit; and 5, the obstacles in the way of realization of the goal, prapti virodhi. This scheme of classification is adopted on the basis of a verse found in the Harita Samhita, a Pancharatric treatise, which claims that these 5 topics encompass the essential teachings of the Vedas, the Itihasas, and the Puranas. The Vaishnava treatise frequently quoted and have primarily focused their doctrines on these 5 categories. Of these, the first 2 are covered by the first and second part of the Vedanta Sutra, the third and fourth categories by the sadhana and purushartha sections of the Vedanta Sutra, and the fifth is also covered indirectly by in the sadhana pada, or the part dealing with sadhana. Nevertheless, it is considered important that an individual should be made aware of how he is caught up in the bondage and the various kinds of obstacles standing in the way of attaining the final liberation, so that he develops in him a sense of detachment towards worldly pleasures and as a yearning for moksha, or liberation, before he embarks on the prescribed path of spiritual discipline. Vaishnavism has therefore accorded importance to prapti virodhi, or in other words, understanding what is the difficulties in attaining liberation. The 3 tattvas referred to by the Shvetashvatara Upanishad become part of the 5-fold classification. However, these have been discussed by Vaishnavism in a different manner and in greater detail, with emphasis on the theological aspects of the doctrines. This has led to the formulation of certain distinctive theological doctrines, which are not stated explicitly in Vedanta Sutra. By way of elucidation of the above point, we may briefly examine the doctrines of Ishvara, God, the sadhana, means, and moksha, liberation, in order to find out how these topics have been dealt with in Vaishnava treatises. Regarding Ishvara, the Vedanta Sutra is concerned primarily in determining the nature of the absolute reality. It focuses its attention on the criteria for determining a metaphysical entity as the ultimate reality, rather than going into the question of whether the reality is Vishnu or Shiva or some other deity. Even when it deals with the question of meditation on a specific deity for attaining liberation, the Upanishad merely states in general terms that which is the cause of the universe is to be meditated upon, karanam tu jyayaha, without mentioning the name of the deity. Though for metaphysics, it is immaterial what the name is given to this reality, it becomes very important for theology to specify the particular deity which fulfills the criteria of reality and which therefore serves as the appropriate object of worship and contemplation. This is what Vaishnavism seeks to do as a theological system. It does not develop any new doctrine which has no basis in the Vedanta. On the other hand, it develops the same Vedanta theory by making it more specific, by providing a practical guide for religious purpose. Thus, in Vaishnavism, the Brahman of Vedanta philosophy is identified with the personal God by the name Vishnu or Narayana, strictly on the authority of Shruti as well as Smriti texts, as well as within the framework laid out down by the Vedanta. As a logical corollary to the acceptance of a personal God, which is a necessity in any theistic system of religion, the Supreme Being is conceived in Vaishnavism as one endowed with various attributes such as omniscience, omnipotence, supreme lordship, compassion, friendly disposition, etc., including a divine bodily form in order to make the transcendental reality a cognizable object of meditation and worship. With regard to the sadhana or means of liberation, the Vedanta Sutra, following the general trend of the Upanishads, has laid greater stress on upasana and discusses in detail the several types of vidyas for Brahman realization. Realizing the impracticability of this path of discipline for persons who are not qualified for upasana, the Vaishnava theology advocates Jnana Vidya, or self-surrender to God, which is one of the 32 vidyas laid down in the Upanishads, and which is easier to observe, being open to all, irrespective of caste, creed, or status of an individual. Here again, it is not a novel doctrine brought into Vaishnavism from elsewhere, but it is a development of the basic theory implicit in the Vedanta. On the subject of the Purushartha, the author of the Vedanta Sutra takes a rationalistic stand. On the strength of the Chandogya Upanishad, he expresses the view that the individual self, after becoming free from bondage, manifests itself in its true form. This means that after it attains Brahman, it becomes free from the shackles of karma. Once this state is reached, there is no return to mundane existence. This concept of moksha, a state in which the individual soul is freed from karma and attains Brahman, is further expanded in Vaishnava theology to include, besides a positive state of existence for the jiva enjoying the bliss of Brahman, the divine service, kainkarya, to God in a transcendental realm known as Paramapada, the supreme abode of God. This has led to the development of the doctrine of Nitya Vibhuti, the transcendental spiritual realm, with its picturesque description of Paramapada and the concept of kainkarya or divine service by the released souls. All these may appear as speculative doctrines conceived by Vaishnava theology to create an interest in the devotees seeking liberation, but it is not so. These theories have come up as an outgrowth of the concept of moksha as outlined in the Vedanta. Thus, Vaishnavism, as a monotheistic religion, can be proved to have developed on the basis of sound philosophical theories derived from the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra. Vaishnavism has both a philosophy and religion. Its philosophy is the same as that of Vedanta, and its religion is not basically different from that of Vedanta, except that it has been further expanded to meet theological needs. We shall present in this book the philosophy of Vaishnavism and the theology of Vaishnavism separately. The philosophy will be dealt with under the following headings. 1. The doctrine of the ultimate reality. 2. The doctrine of the individual self. 3. The doctrine of cosmic matter. 4. The doctrine of means, bhakti yoga. 5. The doctrine of the goal, moksha. Theology of Vaishnavism will be discussed under the following headings. 1. Vishnu as the Supreme Being. 2. Vishnu and the goddess Shri. 3. Vishnu and his attributes. 4. Vishnu and his incarnations. 5. Vishnu and Nitya Vibhuti. 6. Vishnu and Jiva. 7. Property as a means of attaining Vishnu. 8. Vishnu as the supreme goal of life. As an orthodox religious system, Vaishnavism advocates a way of life involving certain religious practices, sacraments, and cultivation of ethical virtues. As these constitute an important feature of Vaishnava religion, they have been dealt with separately under the following headings. 1. Role of Acharya in Vaishnavism. 2. The sacraments of Vaishnavism. 3. The religious duties of a Vaishnava. 4. Kainkarya for God and the devotees of God. 5. The Vaishnava Dharma. The main objective of presenting the doctrines under separate headings is twofold. The first purpose is to establish that philosophy of Vishishtadvaita is distinct from religion of Vishishtadvaita, though the two are complementary, representing two facets of the same one system. The second objective is to delineate the purely theological theories from the philosophical ones and present them with all the relevant details to enable the students of philosophy to understand them in the correct perspective. I have felt the necessity of such a presentation for the obvious reason that the extensive Vaishnava treatises, particularly those written by the Vaishnavacharyas in the Manipravala language, a mixture of Tamil and Sanskrit, which include the several elaborate commentaries of the hymns of the Alwars, have mixed up philosophy and theology. In fact, they are more theology in character than philosophical, as compared with the classical Sribhashya of Ramanuja and the works of Vedanta Deshika in Sanskrit, such as Nyaya Siddhanjana and Tattva Mukta Kalapa. This has created an impression in the minds of some scholars that Vishishtadvaita is essentially a theology rather than a philosophy. With a view to removing this wrong notion, I published a book recently under the title Fundamentals of Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, based on the study of Vedanta Deshika's Tattva Mukta Kalapa, which is mainly a philosophical treatise. That book seeks to establish that Vishishtadvaita is essentially a philosophical system, though it includes theology in it. In order to uphold the philosophical character of the system, theological doctrines are generally left out of the scope of that book, as Vedanta Deshika himself has done in his Tattva Mukta Kalapa. As theology is important for a theistic system, I have attempted in the present book to expand the theological doctrines distinctive to Vaishnavism along with its philosophy and religious discipline, in order to bring about the distinction between philosophy and theology. The source books for the study of our subject are far too many. Apart from the Vedas, the principal Upanishads, Itihasas, Ramayana, and Mahabharata, the Vaishnava Puranas, the Agamas, both Vaikhanasa and Pancharatra, we have erudite works in Sanskrit contributed by Yamuna, Ramanuja, and his illustrious successor, Vedanta Deshika. We have also a large number of scholarly treatises written in Manipravala language by Vaishnavacharyas between the 12th and 15th century. They fall into two categories. A, those which primarily deal with the interpretation of the esoteric doctrines and hence known as Rahasya Granthas or Sampradaya Granthas, and B, those which are in the form of elaborate commentaries, Vyakhana, on the hymns of the Alwars, the Vaishnava saints of South India. A large number of works written at a later period between the 16th and 19th century are mostly in the form of commentaries on the works of earlier acharyas and tracts dealing with certain doctrinal controversies between the two main sects of Vaishnavas, Vadagalai and Tenkalai. The literature that piled up in latter years is indeed very extensive, and it would run into volumes if one were to write on the subject, expounding all the theories in detail as contained in the source books, both in Sanskrit and Manipravala. It is not the objective of this book to write the history of Vaishnavism. Its scope is confined, as already indicated, to present the essential philosophical and theological doctrines of Vaishnavism comprehensively and in a lucid manner. The school of Vaishnavism which is covered in the present book is confined to the extant scholarly texts of Yamuna, Ramanuja, and his immediate successors such as Kuresh, Pilan, Parasarabhatta, Nanjir, Peryavachan Pillai, Vatsavardacharya, Sudarshana Suri, Pillai Lokacharya, Vedanta Deshika, and Manavala Mahamuni. These Vaishnavacharyas, who lived during the period extending from 10th to 15th century, have developed the philosophical as well as the theological doctrines, taking their stand on the authority of the Vedas, Upanishads, Itihasas, Vaishnava Puranas, Pancharatra Agamas, and the hymns of the Alwars. That what is found in these authoritative source books truly represent the proper Vaishnavism. The treaties which have appeared subsequent to the 15th century are generally in the form of commentaries, glossaries on the Sri Bhashya of Ramanuja, the hymns of the Alwars, and the works of Vedanta Deshika. They cannot be regarded as original works. I have therefore confined my study to the original source books written prior to the 15th century. With a view to presenting an objective exposition of the doctrines, I have avoided the mythological episodes from the epics and the Puranas generally used in the works of later Vaishnavacharyas to substantiate the theological concepts. Many other schools of Vaishnavism have come up in the post-Ramanuja period, such as those of Madhva, Nimbarka, Vallabha, Chaitanya, Ramananda, Jayadev, and Jnaneshwar. These schools are generally the offshoots of original Vaishnavism as expounded by Ramanuja. They represent different forms of Vaishnava movements which attain popularity in different parts of India and are a part of bhakti movement to meet the local social conditions and the religious aspirations of the people of the area. I have therefore left them out of the scope of my study except a brief account of them for comparative study. I have also refrained from the temptation of comparing Vaishnavism with other Hindu monotheistic religions such as Shaivism and Shaktism and the non-Hindu religions of Christianity and Islam. Ramanuja's Vaishnavism is often designated as Sri Vaishnavism to distinguish it from that of Madhva and other religious reformers. It is also described by some scholars as Vaishnavism of South India. These epithets, in my opinion, are misleading, as it would give the impression that it is a religion confined to the small sect of a particular region. True Vaishnavism, as will be explained in the next chapter, is the one which has been in existence from the time of Rig Veda and which has been developed through successive stages over several centuries, culminating in the Reformation as a systematized philosophy of religion at the hands of Ramanuja. That Vishnu is a supreme deity as associated with goddess Shri or Lakshmi as his consort is accepted by all schools of Vaishnavism, though there may be differences of opinion with regard to the ontological status of the goddess. Hence, it is not necessary to add the prefix Shri to Vaishnavism, except for the purpose of showing veneration to that religion. Nor is it correct to call it the Vaishnavism of Ramanuja or of South India. Though Ramanuja, as its exponent, was born in South India, he adopted the Vaishnavism which was in vogue at that time all over India. The inscriptional evidence found in parts of North India and the fact that North India is the home of some of the important Pancharatra treaties, which constitute one of the main sources for Vaishnavism, demonstrate the prevalence of the religion in other parts of India. It is not therefore a regional cult, though it may be widespread in South since Ramanuja's time due to historical reasons. It is in fact a cult having a universal appeal, as it believes that Vishnu is the supreme deity who is immanent in all and that the worship offered to other deities will ultimately reach him, even as rainwater fallen from the sky into the different streams eventually reach the ocean. To my knowledge, this is the first time that an attempt has been made to present in English and in a single volume a comprehensive account of Vaishnavism, its philosophy, theology, and religious discipline based on original source books. It is my hope that this book may prove useful for students of comparative religion, and in particular for those who wish to make an in-depth study of Vaishnavism. So, we have a question regarding Virodhi Swarupam after these obstacles, described also obstacles after Samashran and property. Yes, of course, Virodhi would be all obstacles that we encounter. So we're coming to the end of today's time. We have 40 minutes according to the Zoom system, the free Zoom system. So I want to leave it right there at that. We don't really have time for anything else. But yes, the answer to the question about Virodhi is that, or meaning the obstacles in the path of attaining the goal, or upaya, through the system of sadhana, which is the upaya or means, right? The obstacles are there both before one takes to the path of either bhakti yoga or property. And in fact, there are five systems that were just talked about. Again, jnana, karma, achara abhimana, bhakti yoga, and property. So we'll pick this up again in the next lesson, and thank you very much.